Hey, hi, hello, howdy, it is me, Kore, back again with another Danganronpa V3 redesign video. So, I know you guys have been asking for this. We're going on to chapter 2 today, so we're going to be redesigning Kirumi and Ryoma. And I had a lot of fun with these designs. I posted some Kirumi sketches last week from when I was in class for my physical sketchbook. You guys will see that sketchbook in an upcoming video in a little over a month, a little under 2 months actually. But I had a lot of fun designing them. I love drawing maids a surprising amount. I don't like drawing skirts, but I love drawing big fluffy maid dresses. And I had a lot of fun. So let's get into it. Kirumi was, I think, is my favorite design so far. She is just so gorgeous and beautiful. I love women so bad. Danganronpa, Spike, Chunsoft, Kodaka, thank you so much for my wife. She means everything to me. Even if her splash art is so goofy. You'll see me write on the speed paint quite a bit, but I do not know what is going on with that bottom tray. Is there just a martini glass full of olives? Is that what that's meant to be? On the top one, is it just a stick with some leaves on it? Are those supposed to be grapes? Honestly, I can't tell, so, you know, we got a little silly with it. At the request of Poe, I also added a single slice of American cheese. Because why not, honestly? Might as well be there. I had a lot of fun with it, though. Despite how goofy the pose was, despite how much you can see me struggling with the perspective on some of these things, I struggled more in my sketchbook, so we got the struggle bus mostly out of the way before I had to show it to a bunch of people. I did have a lot of fun designing her dress. I love the spider motif, and so I leaned a little more into making her a little bit, not quite goth, but I did give her some dark lipstick, and she's covering one of her eyes with her hair, because it's pretty, and I think women deserve to be pretty. I don't know if you guys can tell this. I'm a big fan of women, especially hyper-competent women. And I did decide to keep that aspect of her character in. I think that it is absolutely hilarious that Danganronpa was like, she is just that good of a maid. She can be the prime minister. She's just that good. I love it. I love how silly it is. If you're not here for it, then I'm so sorry. Get well soon. No, that's a joke. But it's ridiculous and it's hilarious. And I think that it feeds really, really well into the themes of everything being so far past the realm of believable that we can't even see believable on the horizon anymore. Like, we have gone straight past that into the realm of the absurd, and I am here for it. So she is still the secret shadow prime minister in this rewrite, and I think it's silly. I think it's fun. The motive stays the same. Everyone does in fact get their videos that show who they have relying on them outside of the game and give them a reason to want to escape. So that's how it's established that Kirumi is in fact the Prime Minister of Japan, or at least the acting Prime Minister, given that the actual Prime Minister hired her for her services. And she is pragmatic. She knows that she is doing a good job in the game so far. She has, made herself a reliable, trustworthy individual. And if she explains the situation to someone, then she is certain that they'll understand. They'll get it. She needs to get out, not just for the sake of 16 people, now 14 people in a game, but for the sake of a country of millions. So she spends this chapter speaking to various people, asking if they have felt concern for the videos that they received because she was the only one that received her own, of course. Oma still got a little silly with it, shall we say, and decided to mix up the videos that everyone received, but she believes herself to be the only one that got her own. And so upon receiving her video, she's speaking to others, she is asking them, oh, who did they have waiting for them on the outside? And whenever they ask her, her response is always the same. Well, I don't know. I've been working for such a long time that all I remember is my most recent employer, and he wasn't anyone special, he was just a politician. And so, upon speaking to most of the cast, Oma obviously knows that that's not the full truth. He didn't watch much of her video. He watched enough to know that it was the Prime Minister, but he decided at that point it's probably not something that he cares a lot about. And Shuichi knows that Kirumi is lying as well. He can just tell there's something not quite right about that. But one of the other people that recognizes that Kirumi really does want to get out is our next person. So, Ryoma Hoshi. I'm a bag of mixed opinions about him. I think that his death is incredibly poignant, but I think that it is also tragic, especially if you do his free time events, and I don't think it's tragic in a way that the V3 writers necessarily intended, especially again with the free time events as, context. I think that, as a baseline, his story is, again, utterly ridiculous, as is the theme for Chapter 2, but it still is heartfelt. At least, it makes him feel like a heartfelt character. And I think that I'm going to be keeping a majority of his story in, honestly. He is a tennis player, obviously, and he has dwarfism. He found a girlfriend and they were in love, genuinely, and despite their young age, they were talking about a future together, I think that I would think of them as maybe not childhood friends, but I think they would have met in middle school when everyone was starting to figure out how to be mean in the worst ways, And she would have seen how he was treated and would have stood up for him as best she could, and not only that, but would have shown him directly kindness, not just turned the cruelty back on, the kids harassing him. And I think that that would have left a massive impression on him, obviously. His family loves him, but he's never really, known kindness in the face of cruelty specifically before. He had friends in elementary school, and then, they started being mean to him. And so I feel like that's how they would have gotten together. It would have been a very sweet, high school love story where he shyly asks her out and she accepts, and they blush when they hold hands, and then she is taken from him and he does not know why, and he is upset and angry, and in his anger he the way that I think that he would phrase it is he does something very bad, and he does kill the entire mafia with tennis. What mafia? The mafia. This is how this works. I love it. It's so goofy. Sorry, we need a little levity here. It's so silly. But he kills the entire mafia with tennis, and he of course goes to prison for it. He doesn't deny that this is the crime that he committed. And he knows that it's a bad thing. He thinks that his reasoning for it is not good, but he wouldn't take it back, He knows that he did a bad thing. He knows that it's not necessarily for a good reason, it's for a very selfish reason. But he doesn't necessarily regret it, either. He views it as avenging the woman that he loves and repaying the cruelty that she was shown in the face of her kindness. And I feel like, throughout chapter 1, he would have been a little bit in the background, but after the trial where Kaede is executed, he goes up to Shuichi specifically, and he just, says, hey, if you ever need to talk, I have lost someone before, so if you would like to talk, we can talk. And Shuichi doesn't necessarily take him up on this. He's still a little slow to trust, but he appreciates the gesture nonetheless, And he's also got his evenings with Kaito and Maki, where they're training, and, they're still speaking with each other. And I think that in one of these evenings, they would invite Ryoma along, and it would be the evening where they're just staring up at the sky, stargazing as best they can within the dome. And Ryoma just gets to sit with them, and just gets to bond with them for a little bit. And they all talk a little bit about their lives. This is the day before the motive is announced, I think, is gonna be. I don't know if you guys can hear that. There are sirens. Who is... Did someone kill a mafia with tennis? I almost said with Texas. Different things. Can you stop? But I think that, after the stargazing free time event, that the next day the motive is announced, the videos are given out, and Kokichi, of course, takes them, mixes them up, and Ryoma is the second person to end up with his own video. And he sees it, and he sees in the video, he expects Monokuma to pop in at the beginning and say, sorry, dude, you don't have anyone. Like, your parents are dead, you don't have any siblings, your girlfriend's dead. But instead, what he gets is Monokuma shows up and says, well, I'm sure you were holding out for a last hope, but we can do something if you make it out of this. I know where your girlfriend is, and I know how to take her back. And this completely throws him for a loop. He doesn't know if he can trust Monokuma. He doesn't know if there's any truth to it. He saw his girlfriend's body with his own eyes, didn't he? And then he starts to doubt his own memories. Like, did he actually see her body? Is he remembering it wrong? Like, was it a body double? Was it a fake? Is Monokuma lying to him to try and get him to kill? And all of these thoughts are running through his mind. So he goes to speak to one of the most reliable people that, anyone in the group knows. He goes to speak to Kirumi. And she has so far established herself as reliable, level-headed, not very driven by emotion. And he confesses to her that in the video mix-up, he got his own video again. And she says, oh? And he says, I lost someone. I thought I lost someone. Years and years ago. And Monokuma is telling me that they have a way to give her back to me. And Kirumi says, oh. And Ryoma says, but I don't know if it's true. I believe I saw her body. And Kirumi doesn't fully know what to make of it. But in the end, they both need a way out. And Kirumi's stakes are way higher than just one person. So she pauses for a minute, she thinks it over, and she says, I wouldn't trust him, personally. I don't think that reanimating the dead is possible, especially with modern technology. We don't know what technology Monokuma has, but what if she's just a robot controlled by him? And Ryoma nods, thinks it over for a minute, nods again and is like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, It's always a trick with Monokuma. And so he spends another few days thinking this over, and there's something in the back of his mind tugging at him, and he's so distracted in the coming days. And so, when he is alone with Kirumi, she decides to take her chance. He's so lost in thought, his back is turned to her, completely trusting. And what is the life of one person against the life of a country? And that is where we leave off chapter 2. I'm sorry, I get to be a nerd about storytelling in this one now. You didn't even hear that much about me talking about Ryoma's design. I had fun with it, and no, I've never drawn a person with dwarfism before, so please critique me on my proportions. I did leave in that he has dwarfism. I don't know, I had fun with Ryoma's design. I gave him an orange jumpsuit, which I know is very, very American, but I thought that the orange contrasted well with the blue of the rest of his design, and I thought I gave him a nice pop. I gave him a little scar on his face just because I figured, you know, scar on his face. His beanie was changed from little devil horns to cat ears because, of course it was. This is the Danganronpa redesign. What were you expecting? I don't know. Yeah, I had difficulties with the props in this one, but we made it through. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun this week, and I hope you guys are excited for my next video. I'm recording this at 9 p.m. the day before I post this, so I will see you guys, you know, next week. Bye-bye!